This is 2025. As at 2024, and let me say 2023. 2023 was the year I decided to leave my marriage. Though I've been thinking, battling with the decision, but 2023 I decided, and it was during Ramadan, April 25, 2023, I left. And then Ramadan was moving to last 10 days. And that April till December 2023, I can tell that I had the worst time of my life. When I mean worst, I mean I had the most tedious time of my life. And one thing that actually summed total all my experience then was I was not happy. You know, happiness is a single letter word. I was able to pin that. And that single letter was meant high, which is me. By 2024, which was last year, as a January, and I had a shift in lifestyle. That is, there are some things that started working, and I started having a clearer direction in life. I actually got settled with accommodation with my kid, which I'm living presently. And towards the year of 2024 as well, which was last year, things digressed a little because I actually had the plan to start my ready to wear business and, continue with my digital business, selling ebooks and training, and things were not actually forthcoming. Then I don't really understand that there is something called perseverance, and at the beginning of something there are going to be shift and a little bit of bend towards an adjustment. So I left the path again and started a new journey in 2025 entirely. And during this 2023, 2024, 2025, I figured that happiness is something that can be traded. And for you to actually be happy, for you to have a better life, for you to be able to go over some times and trials of your life, there are some things you need to put in place. And when I started inculcating this habit, I feel that things are changing, not entirely, but to some minimum that I can actually see myself as somebody living, somebody thriving rather than surviving. And I've decided to come up with a video that has to do with how you can actually find happiness and how I'm able to walk through the path and how I'm able to get here to speak in front of you, not because everything is actually working, but because there are some parts of my life that has actually shifted because of the decision I've made that I want to be happy. And if I'm going to be happy, these things has to be in place. And I think through my journey since 2023, 2024, early 2024, or let me say December 2023, there is something I understood, and that is you cannot control everything. And that thing took me a lot of time, a lot of experience, a lot of things to understand. You cannot control everything. I understand the part of my life that I can say I made some mistakes, which eventually have turned into lesson. Like I shared in some of my videos, mistakes that have turned to lesson. And there are some days that I actually appreciate and thank God that I have two kids by now. And because I have two kids, I know there is something waiting for me somewhere to come to them. And because of that, I want to live my life based on some things that will actually be beneficial to them when they grow older. And also, because I've walked through the path of marriage at this age of mine, not even up to 30, I know that there are some things about life that I understood in a clearer perspective. And all this happened as a result of the things that have happened to me in the past and the journey I've actually walked through till I was able to get here. And that gave me a notion that everything cannot be controlled. Even you yourself as an individual, even if you are able to control. Now, I can control this video I'm recording because I'm in control of it. But you know that by the time I post this video on YouTube, I can't control the way things will work out. It might eventually be my breakthrough video, it might be the least performing video, it might be the video that will have the most engagement, it might even be the video that YouTube will take down. After all, I don't even want that. But I mean, some stages of our lives cannot be controlled. You are going to have some times that you wish you actually put things in place, but that will be the very worst time of your life. I can say 2023 is I won't say the worst year, but it is a transformational year for me. I won't even call it transformational, the year of realization, the year of reflection that this is the way things are happening. And there's limitation to what I can control. I might not have been able to be in control of everything that's happened in the past, but I think I'm going to try to navigate the things we work out eventually. So some things will happen to you. You can't just explain why. You won't even behave, even if when you put in your very best effort. I remember when I was living there before I could leave, I was trying my possible best. I was trying to reach out to people. I was calling, I was begging, I was pleading. But alhamdulillah that all those things did not work out because if it had, I wouldn't have realized myself. I wouldn't be living in this kind of life I am now. And even my children, me understanding some notions about being someone, being a woman of my own, I think I appreciate that. So you can't control everything. There are going to be down times. There are going to be times where things will not work out, even when you put in your very best effort. There are going to be times where you'll be questioning your decisions as if everybody is planning against you, as if people are not even making you feel worthy, as if life is not even giving you that breathing space to see or actualize your dreams. But I can tell you that there is time and you cannot control everything. And I think the second thing I've actually understand if you want to be happy, that will be an extension of my first point is that these too shall pass. You know, when you're thinking that things are not working, everything is just giving you confusion, you are lost in thoughts, like everything is just going out of hand. In fact, it's as if the world is just turning upside down. Know that this is a phase and it will definitely pass. I swear to God Almighty. When I left in 2023, it was really serious because I can hardly feed myself. I can hardly put food on the table for my children. I will leave the house without a penny and come back again without anything. To the point that every single day is a complete and entire struggle. Even looking at me from afar, you tell me that something is wrong with me. Apart from the soap and cream I'm using there. But when you look at me deep down, you know that this lady is battling with something that she cannot really comprehend. At that time, I was so thinking. But I realized that after a while, after so much prayer and putting in so much effort and letting go of some things about myself, because which is going to be the third point, I'll get into that very soon. Letting go of some things about myself, I realized that what I was into was just a phase, and that phase eventually passed. By 2024 January, I stepped into a new life entirely, and everything about me changed. Alhamdulillah, I was so grateful, and even the Ramadan I did last year, I can't even tell how grateful I am because when some things actually happened, it was actually knocking the door and knocking your conscious and subconscious mind to tap into what is about to happen so that you can re-navigate and re-trafficate your entire journey to take you to a better place rather than where you're coming from. I can't just say Alhamdulillah more than enough because things has changed. That phase has passed. Though it might look so long lasting that it feels as if it is not going anywhere, but it will pass. This too shall pass. But when it eventually passes, what do you want it to be like? How do you want to be like? What are those things you want to see in yourself that will remain? It is a phase, it is a journey, it is a time, and that time will eventually pass. And I think after that, there are three notions that I've actually developed that I've shared in one of my videos that is how to have a peaceful life, I guess. That is the three notions about having a peaceful life. That is reflection of the past, analyzing the present, and planning your future. And I think I'm going to breaking them down here on how to find happiness because when I was able to walk through this three parts again, it gave me a more happy lifestyle. And that is seeing the past as a memory. You see, when you see something as a memory, you will be able to understand that that phase has actually passed. All you have is just a memory. And that memory you have, how is it going to reflect onto your present life and your future life? The past is just there for you to keep in mind and just to understand and tap into the lessons and ideas, not because it is still happening. When my ex, I left them, I will keep calling, I will keep texting, I will keep waiting. He would realize, he would come back, he would at least come to take responsibilities, he would look back, he would this, he would that. But the first point of awakening I had was when I received a message from someone that sent me a picture of him getting married to another lady after 5 months I left. That eats me. And I was like, here I am, waiting for somebody to come back. And the person is actually moving on with his life. And me, I'm here, waiting Sunday. And he never came back. I think that hit me real bad. And when it hit me, then I decided that it is time for me to start taking responsibility of my life. But I just don't know how. Where do I start from? No certificates, no job. The business I had then was a total mess. I went into the business. I don't have the money to push it. I don't have the experience. I don't have the gadgets. I don't have a lot of things. I don't have the money to get materials to start sewing. Then I realized that I can actually teach. I went back to teaching. And it was not easy. I trekked from the house I was living then to the bus stop, the place that transport of 500 naira can take me. I trekked there just to get a job. And even the first month of getting the job, there is something I called, you are struggling for something. But you know at the back of your mind that what you're struggling for is having a better ending. That is the shift. So I think you should understand that the past is a memory. It's just for you to analyze, to reflect on. You have to reflect on it. See it as a memory. What is that past teaching you? And if you're able to coin a lesson from that past and realize that it is not just a mistake, it is a memory that should serve as a stepping stone for other things to come in place. And the second thing is that the present is your midline. You see the point where you are now, this time of your life, realizing, understanding that you don't want to be where you were, but you want to change something about your life. You are thinking you want to have a better purpose in life. You are thinking that something has to work, and you don't want to be where you are in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months a year. That is your midlife. That is when you have to tap into the opportunity. That is when you need to give yourself the opportunity to step into the light. Whatever that might not be working before is there. It is hanging. Now it is time for you to start taking decision on what will work. I started trying a lot of things. I stumbled on one ebook by Tricia Page, which is Monetize Your Knowledge. And she was able to break down the notions about the things you know and how you can turn it into a stream of income. I tapped into my knowledge of organics, I tapped into my knowledge of sewing, I tapped into my knowledge of sewing. But one thing has to come first before others before me. I started sewing then before, but I think sewing should actually be the middle one. Then until I was able to go back into teaching, then I realized that there is an alignment. Teaching is giving me a monthly pay, while other things can actually follow gradually. So at this point, Johanna, what are the things you need to do, the things you need to put in place? What are the decisions you're going to take that will keep you away from that thing you're thinking? The things you need to do that will not make you go through the life you have had in the past, that will give you a easier flow of life in the future. Then I think the third thing is that the future is your hope. You can't control what has happened in the past. Okay, now you are in the middle, you're trying to control the situation. The only hope you have is the future. That is what you are doing now, how it is going to reflect on the future you're trying to be. Forget about the fact that you're not happy now. There's something called delayed gratification, and I've learned to understand that. Sometimes you do something expecting the return immediately, but at the end of the day, you realize that you getting the return immediately will take you nowhere. Unlike when you're getting the return later in the future, and that is going to create a kind of accumulation and reward effect of everything you've worked on that will be serving you in the later years. So the future is your goal. How can you work on the time you have now to get you into a better place tomorrow? And I think most of the things I'm doing now, it is centered upon not just the reward of a year or two, but in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15, in 30 years, where do I want to be? And all the things I'm doing are giving me results gradually, but I think I'm hoping for the larger chunk of the reward in later years. And that has given me a kind of satisfaction that all the things I'm doing might not actually reward me now. But in the space of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, I should be getting the return in multiple folds. So that is your hope. And that hope is starting now. You need to start working on that hope now. That thing you want to see later on, that hope you want to build for yourself, your future. Now it's time to start working. What do I need to put in place? I don't have a job. I don't have a sustainable income. I'm a single mother, a single lady. This one and that one. Now you need to start making plan. Create your future, your dream. Like what is it going to be about? What is it going to? What is that purpose you're going to live for? On each day when you wake up, what is that goal, that life, that dream you're building? You don't just stand up every day acting as if you belong to nothing. You have to be living up to something. You have to be giving yourself that clinch that you are addicted and attracted to something. And that thing you're working on is what will give you that satisfaction. And I can tell you that working through this thing will give you that happiness. It might not be coming immediately, but you waking up every day, serving a purpose to yourself, humanity, and people out there, and creating a difference will create an entire shift in your life. and you not see your life as something that is changing, but you see it as work in progress and as something that is going to a particular destination. And that destination is not until you get there till you're happy, but as you're walking through each step to that destination, you will be feeling every bit of happiness you should, which will eventually take you far away from where you used to be. And I think the other thing that we usually misconcept about emotion is that when you are trying to find happiness, if you have followed all through the steps, you see, you already have everything you need within you. Sometimes we go far and beyond just to be able to add up to what we already have. But I can tell you already have everything you need. There's a difference between need and want. If you're able to differentiate between these two concepts, you realize that you can move anything. When I started, I was thinking, from my ready to wear, I need a lot of money, this one and that. Then I realized that it is not the ready to wear I'm supposed to focus on now. I started the digital business. I could now run the house to bring people in. I realized that it is not the digital business I need now. Then when I looked into teaching, I figured that it is what I need to start because that was giving me a steady inflow of money. I sacrificed a whole 2024 last year up to September to work my ass off from 7 to 7 every single day. Though the stress was much, but the money was coming in. And that was how I was able to get accommodation. Then after the accommodation, every other thing now starts to follow. Though I was thinking that after the accommodation, I'm going to start my ready to wear brand. But I realized that that is still not what I need. What I still need is go back into teaching and stabilize my income to an extent. Then start building stream of income from that income. Then I can say I'm having a steady face. So I figured that sometimes we are looking so far and beyond and above, looking for what is not actually necessary. What we need is right between us, just that when we're not thinking so deeply. I realized that I have my brain and I've been exploring different subjects and teaching making money. Though the money I'm making now is not up to what I was making before, but I think I'm in a position where I realize that this is not just a survival scheme for me. The teaching is just for me to be able to analyze some things. And I'm putting in a lot of effort into what I actually want to build as my hope. So it makes me see the teaching as less something I need and make me put in more effort into the thing that would actually give me hope. So the money is not actually coming in from the teaching, but I'm waiting and I know that what I'm doing as my side also that will eventually become my full-time job is giving me the happiness. I'm putting in that effort into that. It's a delayed gratification, but I know it's going to pay me at the long run. Sometimes we are looking so far outside and beyond, looking for how to normalize our life. But right within ourselves, we have just what we need. And when we can start with that, what we need, other things will not follow. Now I've mapped out my calendar. I've not been so sure all my life, like I'm sure now, that the teaching job is just for the time being. And from there, I'm working, started my YouTube channel, started my digital product, starting my training, and of which I'm going to be bringing this training to your view very soon, which I'm working on. And I think starting with teaching actually gave me a kind of direction and purpose. You might be thinking what you're starting from is too small. You don't deserve to be in that role again. But my dear sister, life has gone beyond you thinking less and too much of yourself. Anyone can be anything at any phase of life. You might find yourself in the deepest and deepest situation today, and tomorrow you find yourself waving and wavering at the peak of every single thing. So I think life is more beyond you not seeing what you need rather than what you want. So everything you need is within you. And I think the next thing I actually was able to inculcate that helped me to find happiness is gratitude over complaint and pressure. Though this thing is difficult because sometimes when I look at the problem I have, I think I'm inculcating more of that now. Because sometimes I sit down and think about my life that there are so many things that I'm missing. But when I look deep down, I realize that there are so many things that are working but I'm not seeing. But just because my attention is centered upon that problem is making the problem so big. Then I was thinking I don't have fan in my house, I don't have bed, I hardly feed my children. But I was able to look down and realize that my life has actually changed. Unlike the years where I don't even have money and I'm not expecting money from anywhere. So now that I have expectation, I might not be eating to my satisfaction, but I can feed my kids with something edible to sustain them for wow and days after days. At least I have a roof over my head unlike before that I'm managing somewhere. And unlike before, so many things have changed, just that the finances are not in place. So that made me realize that sometimes when you're not grateful, you won't see the beauty of what you have. You won't see the beauty, the important tiny details of the things you're in control of, rather than focusing on the things you cannot control. So after some time, if I realize that okay, I'm not happy about it, then what can I do to change the situation rather than complaining? Then when I shift my attention from complaining into working towards how I can change the situation, I think that gives me, or that is giving me a sense of happiness, gratitude over pressure. And I think at the end of the day, I realized that your environment can be a box, can be a restricting area. Just like I mentioned in the video, that if you feel your environment is intimidating, change your location. Sometimes the kind of people you mingle with, the kind of society you find yourself can be draining. All you have to do is think and step outside the box. The clothes of your friend, your relative, your siblings, your relationship, your whatever. If it is intimidating and not giving you the happiness, then it is time to go past and beyond your environment. You should change your location, change your job, change your career if that is what is necessary. Eventually, you are going to fall back in line and things will begin to work. But the whole of this notion is that you should understand that sometimes life can throw at you situations that you cannot even think or comprehend. But one thing you should know is that you are your greatest asset and also your greatest liability. Whatever you put into yourself is what you reflect into the world, and whatever you are reflecting is what the universe will understand and communicate to you. If you're not reflecting happiness, there is no happiness will come to you, and happiness comes from within. It is just a single letter high. And if you make yourself that asset, you're going to be attracting every single thing that will help your life work out. But if you're making yourself a liability, then you're going to be a liability to yourself and every single thing around you till your life is wrecked and wretched. And I think happiness shouldn't be something that is too difficult to get. Even with tiny things that happen in life, for you to be breathing, seeing that you have children somewhere, going and coming shows you have a lot of opportunities to make your life turn around. And that is your focus. The whole of this is to create a purposeful goals, career, dream, ambition for yourself. And as you're working through and towards that goal, you realize that there is going to be a sense of happiness and fulfillment that will be lingering at the back of your mind. And that is how you find happiness. Until I see you in my next one. Bye.